Okay, implementations versus professional services. Huge difference. Some of it's just optics. As a startup, you really don't want to be saying, hey, we're going to bring our professional services team in to do your implementations. This is because a lot of companies, when they hear professional services, they get shocked and they think, oh my God, you need to customize the software. So the common mistake is to just call implementations professional service. This is usually just done to differentiate between recurring revenue, which is your SaaS fees, and non-recurring revenue, which is amazing because you can get paid and recognize them like that. Okay, quickly, implementation, let's remember what it is. Get your customer up and running. Go live. Check the boxes. Get data in, set up based on their requirements, and go. Differentiation between a fully onboarded customer who is all the value realization and everything like that. Implementation, usually set number of hours and costs that have been sold, hopefully costs everybody, and set duration of time. One-time expense associated with getting a new customer up and running and installed. Professional services are usually thought about as consulting and customization. They're focusing on optimizing business processes, delivering better results, training, best practices, troubleshooting. A couple big differences between these is that professional services usually need to be scoped and you structure in most likely a time and materials fee, but sometimes a fixed fee. If you're doing things right, fixed fee for a margin. Implementation's always fixed fee. They should not vary. If they do vary, I suggest having sort of 90% of the time one way that you do it, and then the other 10% of the time, you're going to have some big enterprise customers. Ideally, you have small and large, maybe a medium implementation. That's fine. You don't want 15 different implementation templates. That means you are white label. Professional services also usually have a lot of time tracking going on. I don't like time tracking for implementation teams except for one scenario. That one scenario is when you're creating your packages, more on that later. And when you've created your packages, you need to know if you're going to be losing money, making money, or just getting the customer live on that. So I do like time tracking before making the pricing. So I do like time tracking while you're doing your packaging and pricing, and then maybe a little after that to see if you screwed up when you were doing your packaging and pricing, or maybe things have changed. For example, you could have a new module in a product that takes another week to go live, and then you may have to adjust your pricing after that. Remember, in implementation, there's usually just get customers live when you're a startup, to please don't lose that much money, to hey, you need to start adding money to the bottom line. And that's usually when you're getting ready to go public and you need to have some good financials for the street. Right, so implementation, think about number of users, finding out the key outcomes that you're trying to get, setting the software up to meet those key outcomes. Professional services is usually thought about things like integrations, customizing the software, using APIs, maybe creating a portal, or expert services, which you've learned a lot about how to use the software, you're going to give them business advice, things like that. Interesting thing here is that many SaaS companies are doing all of this for free. They're doing all the integrations. They're doing some customization. It's just very subservient, like just tell us what to do. We want you to feel 100% referenceable. That's fine. You're in that spot. But a good leader will recognize later that, hey, wait, we keep doing these integrations. We're leaving money on the table. We should maybe charge for these. I like having these things as services offerings a la carte on a contract. Like, let's check the box. We're going to do your API setup. Let's check the box. We're going to do this Salesforce integration and have a consistent standard price for doing that. $5K usually does wonders. Okay, so you heard the differences. Implementation, get the customer stood up, hit those requirements and go. Services, maybe a little bit more customization, some consulting. They both are adding to this big picture of customer loyalty and getting them happy, but they're going about them in two different ways. Again, I just really like to differentiate between these because customers hear services and they think customization. We don't want to go down that route and things like that. I hope that helps. I'd love to know how you're differentiating between these two in your company. Drop them in the comments below. I'd love to have a conversation going on this.